Hello, my name is Jude Graham. I'm the R-Freedom to Speak Up Guardian. Speaking up is really important in the NHS because it's about raising concerns about anything really, about patient care, about the way that staff work with each other and about both our services and the services that we may interact with for our patients. The Freedom to Speak Up team within the Trust are a small team comprising of myself, the Chief Executive Catherine Singh, Rosie Johnson, who is our HR Director and Director for Workforce, and our two non-executive directors, Kath Smart and Ali Pearson. As a team, we meet up regularly to review the concerns that have been raised and to try and support people as best we can, to learn from the individual, from the team, and what messages the concerns that have been raised may have for our care groups and also for our transformation process. What happens in the Trust is you can raise concerns in different ways. You can either do this via your line manager, who is happy to hear from you if you have concerns around anything, whether that's a patient concern, a staff member concern, or a concern about the team. If you don't feel confident to talk to your manager, there are other ways you can speak up, and these are detailed in our Freedom to Speak Up policy. One of these ways is that you can contact either myself, who is the Freedom to Speak Up Guardian, or advocates that work with me. If you don't feel confident to either speak up to your line manager or to myself, you can speak up to external agencies, and those are the CQC and also various whistleblowing agencies, which are detailed on our policy. If you speak up, you can either contact me through email or via telephone, or you can send me a letter. You can speak up in different ways. You can either formally speak up by declaring who you are. You could send an anonymous letter, which doesn't detail your name but details your concerns. Or you could contact me and we could talk about whether we need to keep your concern in confidence or not. If you do contact me, I can work with you to look at the best way of processing your concern. I will often ask, is there a patient safety concern? Is the concern around staff members? Or is the concern around the environment? I will record what you say on a database, and this is confidential to myself. However, it's there for audit purposes should at a later date we need to access that information. When you speak up, typically I'll offer you a face-to-face or telephone meeting. At that point, we can talk about your concerns and we can talk about what are the next steps. The next steps may be that, having worked that through, you can go and talk to your line manager or the people in your workplace from which the concern arises. It may be, though, that you ask me to do something. So that might be that I talk to the line manager or managers above your line manager so that we can get some resolution to whatever's happening for you. Or it may be that, having talked to me, we may need to enact a different process within the Trust, and that might be the Trust's grievance process or a bullying process. One of the big things I've learned since working as a Freedom to Speak Up Guardian is the need to listen fully to what people have said and what they read into a situation. I know that I can't be everywhere, so I have worked with all areas of the Trust to develop advocacy services so that we have people who wear a similar lanyard or a badge to myself, identifying themselves as Freedom to Speak Up advocates, who you can talk to, who can then raise the concerns with me or a different senior leader in the Trust. What we've also learned is the importance of communicating back what's happening throughout the concern. So it may be that you raise to me an issue which I then need to look into a bit further. I will give you a timescale in which I will then come back to you and explain where your concern is, who's going to help us move that to the next stage, and every stage I'll ask you how you're feeling about this. When we've got a resolution to the concern, or when the concern is moved into a different managerial process, I will then come back and meet with you to see how you found the process of speaking up. Really pleased that there are a number of people who have used the Freedom to Speak Up route in the Trust. So what that says to us is we know that some of the work we're doing is working. Over the last 18 months since inception, we have had 35 concerns raised. These concerns have been in all of our care groups, and they've also been in our corporate services. When I ask people, and when I also send questionnaires about people's experiences of speaking up, I have had a really positive response back. Over 90% of the people that have fed back have said that they felt that the Speak Up process has enabled them to work through whatever was problematic for them. Only a small amount of people have given feedback that it hasn't been a good process. This is between 2 and 7%, and what they have tended to feedback is not that the process was difficult, but that maybe they didn't get the outcome they'd hoped for. Big developments in the National Freedom to Speak Up office at the moment. If you want to look at these developments, you can log on to the Office of the National Guardian website, details of which are at the end of this presentation and also in the Trust policy. What the National Guardian's Office is doing is collating concerns from around the country and seeing whether there are common themes so that they can help guardians work with trusts and work with managers to make the workplace safer for our patients and also a better place for our staff. The Freedom to Speak Up concept has influenced CQC assessments. CQC inspections look at different domains of care. They look at safety, they look at leadership, they look at effectiveness, and they look at care quality. Within the CQC inspection, there are key lines of inquiries, or CLOEs. Freedom to Speak Up has been introduced as a key line of inquiry in the well-led domain. So if CQC inspection comes into our dash, what we know is that they may talk about the Freedom to Speak Up process and whether staff members know that there is a policy in place, that they can contact through advocates, they can contact through guardians, or if they don't feel confident with this, they can contact through the National Freedom to Speak Up office or the CQC. Really what matters is that people raise concerns. It doesn't really matter which route they go through, although what we would like to do is resolve that issue as close to the patient care as we can. And so it's always preferable if people can raise with the line manager, although we do understand that that can't always happen. Within the Freedom to Speak Up National Guardian's Office, there is also the ability to case review. What this means is that if somebody has raised a concern within a trust and they have been dissatisfied with that outcome, the National Guardian may select to come into the trust and do their own review, a bit like a CQC inspection. They will give the outcome of that review to the person who have spoken up and also to the trust if there is any learnings. So it's really important that staff know that there is a case review process that can be conducted from an outside agency as well as inside. As guardians, we know what the outcomes of these case reviews are, and the information is available to the public on the National Guardian's website. You can raise your concerns at any time with your direct line manager. Your direct line manager may work 9 to 5, but outside of these hours, there is a manager on call system which you can access if you have any concern about direct patient safety. When you're thinking about your concern, you might think that this concern's been going on for a while, so it's not urgent. If it's not urgent, you can contact your manager within the 9 to 5 service, or you can contact myself as the guardian. I work 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, and when I gain a concern, I typically respond within 24 to 48 hours, and I will either call you back or email you, and that will either be to discuss the concern immediately, depending on the nature of that, or to arrange an appointment to go through that concern with you in more detail. Some people might ask, what can I raise concerns about? You can raise concerns about a range of different things, but the main things people tend to raise concerns around are if they've identified a risk, or if they've found malpractice, or if they suspect wrongdoing. Examples of these might be if people are concerned about their working conditions, might be concerned about patient safety, might be concerned that they don't have adequate training in order to deliver the best care that they can. Other concerns might relate to suspected fraud or bullying in the workplace, or someone being treated differently because of maybe their own character, or because of the fact that the team don't interact with them well. Any of these things constitutes a concern which we would look at under freedom to speak up. So concerns are reported back to individuals who have raised them and into teams. They're done so either on a named or a confidential basis. In certain concerns, there may be learning not only for the individuals and the teams involved, but also learning across our organisation and with other organisations as well. For this reason, concerns are summarised within reports that are taken into our operational managers meeting, our executive team meeting, and also to our trust board. At a minimum, I attend the trust board as the Freedom to Speak Up Guardian twice a year, and at this time I talk about our concerns, what we've found from investigating our concerns, our learning within the trust, and also our future vision for Freedom to Speak Up. So there are people that work in our organisation or work with us who can speak up to me, but I may need to put them in touch with other people. This may be because we have people that are seconded from other organisations, or people that work with us in partnership. It doesn't mean you can't speak up, it just means that I may have to work with other senior leaders in order to process your concerns. We also want to hear from our students. People who work with us permanently will have permanent line managers. People who work with us on a part-time basis, or are agency members of staff, or are students in our organisation, we hope can speak up to their line manager or their mentor. However, if they don't feel comfortable to do that, they can also use the Freedom to Speak Up process, or they can speak up through their linked tutor. Step 1 would really be to raise your concern to your line manager. Again, this concern can be about a patient safety incident, it could be about your work environment, or it could be about what you suspect is bullying or problems between colleagues. If you don't get resolution, or you don't feel that things are managed appropriately, you can then go to step 2. So step 2 is where you raise your concern about malpractice or risk or patient safety with myself as a Freedom to Speak Up Guardian. You do this directly to me, either by phone or by email, and I have a designated phone for Freedom to Speak Up. I will then arrange to meet with you or speak to you, and I can meet you off-site if this is more comfortable for you. If you don't feel that your issues are resolved by meeting me and you're unhappy with meeting me as the guardian, step 3 would be to raise your concerns with the Chief Executive or our Director for Workforce, Rosie Johnson. If you don't feel that your concerns are addressed, then there is also a step 4, which is where you can contact external bodies. Examples of external bodies are Public Concern at Work, the National Whistleblowing Helpline, the NSPCC if you had specific concerns, say about child sexual exploitation. Also bodies such as NHS England, NHS Improvement, NHS to Protect. And if you've got specific concerns around the environment or health and safety, there is always the Health and Safety Executive. All these 4 steps and the contact details for these people are within the policy for Freedom to Speak Up. That policy is available via the Trust intranet, or if you're at home or looking on an external site, it's also available externally through the Trust internet where there is policies online. Please remember that if you're a registered professional, you have a professional duty to raise concerns, and this will be detailed within your codes of conduct. Some people ask me if I'm not really sure, should I raise a concern? My advice would always be, even if you're in doubt, raise it. No one will think you're unprofessional or you're lacking in knowledge if you raise something innocently. I'm happy for anybody to raise anything to me and me to talk through that with them to see whether there are different sides to the story, to see before we progress that forward. What I would suggest is please don't feel you have to wait for proof, because sometimes while you're waiting something could go wrong. I would really rather you came to me and we talked that through, and I know all the line managers and leaders would rather you did this so that we could get it right first time. What we know from researching various different industries is that the healthiest organisations and the safest organisations are those organisations in which staff can raise concerns at any different level and be believed, and for the investigation to be conducted, because when people raise concerns, all they're wanting is for patients to be safer and the environment to be better. So please don't feel worried about raising a concern. What you're doing is trying to make care better and the environment better, and that's how we will all lead the way with care. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Should you require any further information about Freedom to Speak Up, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address and my phone number are going to be on the end of this podcast. Thank you.